am 48.
48. And tell me about the process of deciding to come back to school for student.
If I think it works on two levels for me, to be honest. I think the first is honestly kind of a bucket list thing. Like there's a certain point at which it's pointless to go back to school. I have no idea if I've passed that point or not. But I wanted to have a master's before I died. The first play, like high school play, I did like middle school stuff and all of that, things that everybody did. My first real role was in a like Scholastic's magazine short play about like the trial of Santa Claus. And of course, that's me, so I played the lawyer. I remember wanting to throw up before my first entrance in high school, and it was like the high school ramp up to the door, and it seemed like the longest thing in the world. Like I will never make it through to the entrance without throwing up, and I got through that time on stage, and then when the scene was over, I walked off stage, and I couldn't remember what had happened. I had my early midlife crisis, I guess in my 30s, and I was like cooking, something I did with my dad a lot, and my dad had been very ill at that time. In fact, he would die before I got out of cooking school, which sort of ended my cooking school career because of family issues. But I was standing there at the prep table doing my stuff for the day and listening to two other chefs at the next table over chopping vegetables, talking about food. And I really did have that moment, and we mentioned it, I mentioned it to you before, of listening to them and thinking, at a moment of clarity, the way they feel about food is the way I feel about acting, and I can never ever get away from it as much as I'd like to. My goal as an actor was weird, and I guess maybe I'm kind of working towards getting it now, but I always wanted to be the acting equivalent of a utility infielder, like in baseball. So a guy who could play every position around in the infield, you know, bat 290 and just stay on that team forever and be a part of every big play. And it was an Oliver Stone movie, W, about George Bush. And I got it, and it was the reason I moved to Louisiana in the first place, is because I didn't know how to look at the computer correctly. In LA, I was submitting on stuff through Actors Access and all those things that actors submit on. And I saw this thing like, hey, here's a part in this Oliver Stone movie. All I had to do was click to submit, you know, like holy cow, I got an audition. And that's when I realized the audition was in Shreveport, Louisiana, you know, a city and state that I'd never been to. And thought, well, I talked it over with my then fiance, later wife, and said, this will cost us like $1,000. You know, we were planning our wedding at the time, like we don't have, you know, this money. But she said, you should just go so you could say you auditioned for Oliver Stone. But I'm there on the day, and I get to deliver a line to Richard Dreyfuss. And Oliver Stone called me out, a guy who had never met me before, and called me out in front of everybody with one word. We had shot one, we set up, we rehearse, we shoot a take. I come in, I say some line like, you know, we finally got it in, sir, something to Africa. And we finish the take, I'm turning around to go, you know, we're going to reset and do it again. And Oliver Stone yells at me to the back of my head, confidence! And like part of me went, Oliver Stone is talking to me. And part of me went, oh my God, I'm dead. But I thought, oh my God, he's fucking right. I'm not doing anything. I came all this way to be an actor, and I'm being a puss. So suck it up and say the line, man. And say it like you want to win. So it was the coolest advice that I still hear in my head sometimes when I let all the actor fears get in the way, or I'm cranky or worried or whatever, on stage or in front of camera. I always hear that voice just yelling, confidence. Everybody in the world, and especially everybody around you as an actor, is telling you no. It's a world of no for the actor. And so the last thing you should do is do the world's job. That's my big thing. Don't do the world's job. Your job is to say yes. Let them do their job. Don't say no to you. I think nothing's more boring to me than being the hero, I think. Especially if he doesn't have too many cracks in him. Yeah.
Yeah, no actor wants to be that.